All right, so in step one, we are going to be doing some notes today. So this is what our end product is going to look like for our notes. So we'll take some notes and then you are going to be doing your final copy on the other side. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to need a piece of paper. I'm also going to need what is called a triangle, and I have a triangle right here. What's really important to remember is that you're going to need to line up your triangle with the edge of your paper whenever you're making a horizontal or a vertical line. So as you can see right here, my triangle is lined up with the edge of my paper. If I were to make a horizontal line, it's going to need to be lined up along the edge of my paper here. So before we even start drawing, we're gonna have to label our paper because you're gonna have a lot of exercises and you're gonna need to stay organized. So the first thing that you need to do in the top right-hand corner is write your first name, your last name, your period, whatever number that is, and then we're going to call this notes number 1. So notes number 1. And we take notes in this class just to help you when you do your final copy. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to line up our triangle with the edge of our paper, like so. And right in the middle of our paper, we are going to draw a horizontal line. This is called the horizon line. It separates the sky and the ground. And to make things easy on you, because this is maybe the first time you've ever drawn perspective boxes, we're going to put the vanishing point just right in the center, just a tiny little dot, doesn't need to be big. This is just our visual reference where all the receding lines and planes are going to go to. So let's practice making some different shaped boxes. We're going to start here in the top left-hand corner. So I'm going to take my triangle, and if you notice, my triangle lines up with the edge of my paper always. And again, the reason why we must line our triangle up with the edge of our paper is to ensure that our lines are nice and straight. So when you guys are doing your lines, we're going to start off with 2 vertical lines. Followed by 2 horizontal lines. Again, every single time, make sure you're lining up the triangle with the edge of your paper. And then you'll notice there might be some excess lines. You can just take your eraser and erase some of the excess. Make sure you are drawing light. I'm drawing dark just simply so you can see what I'm doing. Now that I have my 2 horizontal and vertical lines, I'm going to take the 3 closest points to the vanishing point. So carefully line your triangle up with your vanishing point. Take your time. This requires no drawing skill, just accuracy. So if you messed up like I just did, you just erase it. And that's why it's important to draw light. If you draw light, it's really easy to erase. If you draw dark, it's really hard to erase your lines. All right, let's try that again. So we're going to line up the vanishing point and the point on our shape and draw all the way to the vanishing point. So go ahead and do that with all 3 points. Like so. Now we're going to cut off our box. This is where some people really struggle. So my word of advice is to look at the edge of your shape. So I see a vertical here. I'm going to have a vertical cut somewhere on this side. So I'm going to take my triangle And I'm gonna create a vertical cut. It doesn't matter if it's a shallow cut or a deep cut, and you'll see later on what I mean by that. You just, again, have to line up your triangle with the edge of your paper. And I'm gonna do a vertical cut here, just like that. And then I'm gonna look at this side here, that's a horizontal line, so I'm gonna need a horizontal cut. So I'm just gonna take my triangle, line it up with the edge of my paper, and do a horizontal cut, just like that. Now I'm ready to erase my excess lines, so I'm just gonna take my eraser and I'm gonna erase my excess lines. Eventually, when you become a lot better at this, you won't have to draw your lines all the way to the vanishing point. Make sure your lines fully connect. All right, so now that we have this box done, we're pretty much gonna do the same thing, except for we're gonna go below the horizon line. So everything's gonna be the same exact steps. So the first step, we're going to draw 2 vertical lines. And this time I'm gonna switch up my shape just a little bit. And then I'm gonna also do 2 horizontal lines. Again, even if your triangle only lines up with a tiny bit of your paper, make sure it lines up at all times. Again, that just ensures that you have a nice straight line. Okay, you can go ahead and erase your excess. And then the 3 closest points, you're gonna take those to the vanishing point. Now we're gonna cut off our box. So this is a vertical line here. I'm gonna need a vertical cut. So line up my triangle. This time I'm gonna go for a little more of a shallow cut. So my triangle's lined up with the edge of my paper and I'm making a vertical line, just like that. And then I'm also going to do the other side. So I'm gonna line up my triangle and make a horizontal line going through my shape. Take your time to be accurate. This requires no drawing skill whatsoever. And then I'm gonna erase my excess lines. Now, if you're the type of person who really struggles with top or bottom at any point in time, all you have to do is turn your paper upside down. So I can easily turn my paper upside down and draw either the top or the bottom. All right, so the next thing that we are gonna do is we're gonna draw a box going through the horizon line. This one's not hard, it actually requires less steps here. So I'm gonna draw 2 vertical lines. And if your lines look crooked, it's probably because you forgot to line your triangle up with the edge of your paper. And then I'm gonna do 2 horizontal lines. So 2 vertical, 2 horizontal. Now it doesn't really matter what order you go in because you're making a rectangle anyways. And then I'm gonna go ahead and erase the lines. You might have noticed that I have a horizon line going through the middle of my shape. I can go ahead and erase that because the horizon line is imaginary. We don't need that. Again, make sure you are drawing nice and light. This time we're gonna take the 2 closest points to the vanishing point. Just like that. And again, if you make a mistake, just erase it. These are just notes, so if it's a little messy, that's okay. And then if you notice, because we only had to take these 2 points to the vanishing point, we just have one side to cut off. So this is a vertical line. So I am going to need a vertical cut, just like that. And then I can erase the excess lines, which include the horizon line going through the middle of my shape, and then the excess lines here on the outside. All right, so now you should know how to draw a box above, at, and below. I'm gonna do a couple here really quickly on the other side, just so you know how to do the ones on the right-hand side. It's pretty much all the same steps. I am gonna just talk much quicker this time because you should know how to do these by now. It becomes really repetitive after a while, but the number one rule to remember is that your triangle needs to line up with the edge of your paper at all times whenever you're doing horizontal or vertical lines. So I'm going to start off with doing 2 vertical lines. Followed by 2 horizontal lines. Erase the excess if you have any. And then I'm going to take the 3 closest points to the vanishing point. And at some point, you will get good enough to where you might not have to draw all the way to the vanishing point, just like I did, and you can just draw it part of the way, especially if you know if you want a deeper box or a shallow box. But if you are struggling, I would keep drawing them all the way to the vanishing point. All right, I'm gonna need a vertical cut here. So I'm gonna line up my triangle with the edge of my paper and draw a vertical line, followed by a horizontal cut right here. And if you ever wonder when to do what, just look at the edge of the shapes and that will tell you what kind of line you need. If your box looks strange, that's because you probably didn't cut it with the proper vertical or horizontal line. So make sure you line up your triangle. That's usually the most common issue I see. All right, so now that I have this box done, we're gonna do 2 more and then we're gonna be done with our notes. So the next box we're gonna make is down here on the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm going to do 2 vertical lines. Followed by 2 horizontal lines. And today I'm making my boxes rather large because they're easier. The more you practice, the better you are gonna get. All right, and then I'm gonna erase my excess lines. And I'm gonna take all 3 points to the vanishing point. Make sure you take the time to line up each point with the vanishing point. Just like that. Now we're ready to cut off our box. So I am going to do my vertical cut first. So I need to make sure I line up my triangle with the edge of my paper. Go ahead and do a vertical cut, followed by a horizontal cut. Made a little cube shape this time. And I'm gonna go ahead and erase the excess lines. All right, we have one box left. So we're gonna do our last box going through the horizon line. So we're gonna do 2 vertical lines. And again, I'm taking the time to make sure my triangle is lined up with the edge of my paper. And then 2 horizontal lines. This time I had a lot of excess lines, so I'm going to go ahead and erase those first. And then you'll probably notice that I have a horizon line going through the middle of my shape. So we're gonna go ahead and take the clue to, before that, we're gonna erase our horizon line. And then after that, we're gonna go ahead and erase, not erase, sorry, we're gonna take the 2 closest points and take them to the vanishing point. Like that. And then last but not least, we're going to cut off our box. So we're going to use a vertical cut because if I look at the shape, there's a vertical right next to it. Erase the excess. Erase the horizon line going through the middle of your box. So in our notes, we have drawn 2 boxes above, 2 on, and 2 below for our notes. What you're going to do next is you're going to flip over your page. You're going to write first name, last name, whatever your period number is, final, number 1. This is the side that you're going to be graded on. You must draw super, super light. Be as accurate as possible. If you mess up, make sure you erase and fix it. And then the most important rule to remember is that you need to line up your triangle with the edge of your paper whenever you're doing horizontal or vertical lines. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me.